Hello, and welcome to Good News Rhode Island, the show about Rhode Island and the people and places and events that make Rhode Island a great place to live, that build our communities. Today, we are really honored to have people who are working hard behind the scenes to make sure that strangers who come within our borders are helped, to make sure that they resettle, put down roots, and become as we would be were we to move from one city to another. You know how when you move, you are feeling sort of disjointed. You're not sure where the doctors are, where the school is, where the hospital is, where the stores are, where is what you need. And the only thing you can do is depend on other people. Well, here, Dorcas International Institute of Rhode Island is here to help people who come in, possibly not even knowing English, or more than likely not knowing English, but who come into our borders and begin to put down roots, begin to become a part of our communities, to build our community. And so I want to welcome Baha Sadir, who's here as the Director of Refugee Resettlement for Dorcas International Institute. And I also want to welcome Lily Bismois. Is that right? Bismois, who's here, who works with volunteers to figure out how to help people in the way that's the most clear. I think what your agency would say is it really takes a whole city or a whole state to build a community, to help a family to build itself into the community. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Baha, how did you start doing this? What is your background?
Well, I mean, I started with community organizing, teaching ESL, teaching citizenship at Dorcas International Institute, working with the community on health initiatives, and refugee resettlement seemed like a very meaningful community activity for me to get involved with. And it was a privilege to work with refugees themselves when they were coming from their troubled regions to come here, and they're so resilient, and they really show you how you can make a difference in the community that you're living in. So I started working with the Refugee Resettlement in 2005, actually. But I've been working with International Institute, and now it's Dorcas International since 1997.
So you really know the field well at this point.
Well, I'm still learning. But
there are agencies across the country.
Yeah.
And you must coordinate with them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are about 400 resettlement agencies, refugee resettlement agencies across the nation. And there are 9 voluntary agencies who basically work with Department of State. They're contracted with Department of State to receive the refugees who've been vetted, thoroughly vetted, and resettle them in communities in America. So we work with U.S. Community for Refugees and Immigrants, and they resettle about, I'm not sure the exact number, but 20% of the refugees. This year, for example, United States has agreed to resettle 85,000 refugees, and we have so far resettled about 35,000 in United States. In Rhode Island, we project to receive about 200, 250 refugees in 1 year, and we have resettled so far like about half of that number.
And a big deal was made on, I don't know, February something or other, of a family who came from Syria.
Yeah.
And that's a new population.
Right. So the Syrian refugees, as you know, have been displaced. And again, the difference between refugees and immigrant is that refugees had to flee their homes because they were in fear of persecution because of their nationality, ethnical affiliation, or their political beliefs or religion. And in Syria, there have been almost like 5 million people who had to flee the country of Syria right after the Arab Spring. That's after the uprising of the rebels. So the ordinary people who did not want to become a part of either groups and fight or get killed or kill somebody, they had to flee to the neighboring countries. So Syrian refugees have been either going to refugee camps, or they've been in other cities, like in Turkey, for example, they register with United Nations and they wait until their interview date is up. So they go through many layers of interviewing, screening, biometrics, one-on-one interviews, medical screening, and then finally, after they're approved, which usually takes about 3, 4, sometimes it could take as long as 30 years. Then they are, they get into the pipeline to come to the United States.
30 years?
Yeah, I mean, we've had refugees in Tanzania who've been born in refugee camp, and, we had actually a big wave of Bhutanese refugees in 2009. They were in the camps for 18 years in Nepal. So the Syrian refugees are the newest population because of the recent crisis and the civil war in Syria. And we started receiving refugees from Syria, but they, like the first family arrived, they lived in Turkey for 4 years or 3 years, I'm not sure. The second family that arrived, they lived in Jordan in camps. The condition of camps or countries are different. Like Turkey has about 2 million refugees from Syria, not other countries. And they don't really have camps. You have to integrate into the Turkish economy, workforce, and society. That means you have to pay rent, you have to pay special tax for foreigners. So it's really a difficult environment for people to live, but it's like it's a working place, whereas in Jordan, there are camps, and the camps conditions are not very good. It's like tents in the middle of a desert with no running water, no electricity, and you got all kinds of other issues. But at least it's protected, so nobody is going to come in and harm them.
So when you meet a family, you are trying, Lillian, you are trying to help them in some way just to lower their level of fear, I would assume, just to help them to begin to start looking at the way life will be. And you're talking to them about all the basic needs that human beings have, although they may not even know what their needs are at this point, having gone through such an elaborate process of gates to get them in.
Well, Dorcas has it's an awesome bunch of people who work with refugee from the first, second step in the United States until, I don't know, forever or as much as they want to stay and get help from Dorcas. So before the family gets to me, they already went through different people in Dorcas who help them, from their caseworker who welcome them from the airport and lead them to their house and where they have a cultural appropriate food waiting for them. So Dorcas has this lineup steps that they do to make refugee welcome since the first time their foot step in the United States ground. So by the time they get to me, they already know the system. Different people already help them through different situations. So when they get to me, it's basically to know a little bit more about the country. So as I said, I'm the refugee mentorship coordinator. I coordinate mentors. They are basically volunteers, people who are just donating their time and their kindness to help refugees who are very confused with their new place and everything is blurry to them. So they need to know how to ride buses, how to get from a place to their home. So all those different things, Dorcas can go each and every step with every family. They will never be able to do that. So those mentors do that job. So I can say there are people who already talk to them about what they need to know, the basic thing. For me, I think I just do a little part. I just add to what they already have.
Some quality to their life.
Maybe those volunteers are giving that quality, because having somebody who is willing to just give his time to help you with different questions you have or to show you what you need to see around the city is something very meaningful to those refugees. To have somebody who is able to sit down with you for a few hours and teach you English and answer all those kind of questions that you have, the quality that I think is beyond and really appreciable.
Let me ask you, did this happen with you when you came?
I wish it did. Basically, when I came, I didn't have a mentor, and I would love to have it when I came. I think the system was not that in place yet. Well, maybe there was a system, but it was not that grounded yet. When I came, I was, I won't say I was lost, but I was confused with so many things. I flew to the United States from Bangkok, and everything was different. I knew some things, but I needed that person to show me downtown, to show me where to go and hang out and breathe some new air from home, and to just get adjusted to the new culture and country, but I didn't. But at the same time, Dorcas was there for any question you had, for every step of the way, for school and everything. I think they did what they could, but the mentoring part was not there as much as it is now. So yeah.
Were you alone, or did you have a family with you?
I came with my family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so you all had different needs. I mean,
Absolutely.
in the end, if there are 5 people, then there are 5 problems or
Yes.
5 challenges.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you tell me some stories of other people who've come and the kinds of things that you both have worked on to help them? Sometimes we assume that somebody comes in, you give them a place to live, you show them where the school is, and that's enough. And I think that's not even the beginning. But what else is needed? How else have you
Well,
helped?
I mean, you have to. I mean, you just reacted to the number, the massive number of refugees.
60 million
being
refugees
displaced
worldwide.
And when you throw that number, some people just think of it as a number, but you think of it in terms of individual lives. Like, what would happen to me if I have to just abandon everything I have on a moment's notice and go to a foreign country that I don't know what it's going to be like? So refugees, each and every one of them, in some capacity, they go through that transition. And I don't mean to upset you, but they go through this transition, and it's just actually something that beyond the human norms, to do that. So they're exposed to a different level of resilience that normal human beings are not exposed to. And as they go through it, one country, one step at a time, they really transform to this extremely hopeful, resilient individuals, that their ultimate goal is that tomorrow is going to be a better day, and we are going to come to wherever, because when they put in their application, they don't even know, with all these people being in the pipeline, they don't know when they will get the chance for resettlement. So when they arrive to United States, if they're at that, because only less than 1% of that population gets a chance for resettlement. So when they are resettled, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, in Lily's case, you're from Congo, right? So what languages do you speak in Congo?
Swahili.
Any other language?
French.
French and Swahili. So you're fluent in those. So when you left and you went to Thailand, you had to learn a little bit of Thai maybe, and English as well. So you're already exposed to 2 other languages plus your language. In some cases, sometimes there are more languages even. So when you arrive here, you already have this resilience with you and hope and everything, but you really want to make sure that you do everything correctly, because you are living in this new land that is going to be your home, so you're really resettling. So that's their immediate characteristic when they come here, with that level of resilience and wanting to make a change for themselves and life. So they're very motivated. They're all very motivated. And in some cases, they're having some severe adjustment issues, like, for example, somebody who never been exposed to like a modern setting because they were warehoused in the camp. It's very difficult for them to live in South Providence and have all their kids go to different schools and pick them up at a different time. So really, time management becomes an issue. These are one of the challenges that we see with, just generally everyone. Like, how do you manage your time? How do you manage finances? But again, because of their resilience, because of their hope, because of their commitment, their passion for better life, they overcome it is we see like most refugees are employed within 6 months, generally speaking, 70–80%. And given the fact that Rhode Island doesn't have a lot of opportunities for entry-level jobs, that's pretty remarkable. I mean, it's because of the collective effort of refugees themselves. What we do at Dorcas International, we have a very energetic team of caseworkers and job developers, but also the community. The community is very vibrant. They're very willing. They come forward. The mentors that we are able to recruit, train, and monitor, they really help out. So in terms of like particular stories, I think every refugee is a story in itself. I think again, the most amazing cases when a single mother comes in with no English, and in a matter of 6 months, 7 months, not only they are working, but also they're able to communicate in English, and their kids are
starting school.
Everybody gets into the mainstream as quickly as possible. The healthcare is the first thing. I mean, obviously housing is the first thing and the basic needs, but then healthcare is the first, and then immunization, going to school, and kind of getting on the path. And some people, like I remember when I was teaching back in 1999 or whatever, there were refugees who came in the 80s and they still didn't know how to speak English. So for some people, it takes a long time. But I think what, kind of going back to the point that Lily was making, is sometimes services are not in place, and you learn from your mistakes, and you realize you need to invest more in certain areas to get the result that you are hoping to get in a timely manner.
A lot of people are concerned about job preparedness, or someone's going to take their job when they come because they may take lower pay. So what I understand that you're doing some things for job preparedness. You're teaching soft skills, which is computer skills, and
right.
So how do you go about that?
Well, we have an employment team that's actually situated. We have 2 buildings. At 645 Elmwood Avenue is our employment, immigration, interpreting, translating, and our executive offices. So they operate out of that building. We operate out of the 220 Elmwood Avenue. We have the education classes, case management, and admissions office there. So while refugees are participating in ESL/job readiness classes, they are paired up with the employment specialists who develop their resumes and do mock interviews, set up job fairs so employers get a chance to meet them. And that's basically, it's a gradual kind of integration. And as refugees kind of test out in terms of their readiness for a job, they apply for jobs, they do interviews, and employers love refugees because they're just so hard. I mean, they do it for the love of being useful more than actually money. I mean, money is a huge necessity, because if you don't have the funds, you'll be homeless. But they're hard workers, and employers love them. And in terms of the fear of losing jobs to refugees, first of all, the number of refugees that are resettled in Rhode Island is, again, the number of refugee adults who are employable, it's maybe 50 or 60 a year, or maybe 100, in 1 year, because they're mostly families coming here. So it's not a huge number of people coming in here that are going to be employed, and they all have to take on entry-level jobs. I mean, we do have wide range of skill sets and backgrounds. We have some doctors and lawyers from like Iraq and Afghanistan and other countries. So we have a lot of
and they would have to be recertified.
They have to get recertification, which is a long process. So in the meantime, they have to go to school. They have to take on other entry-level jobs. A lot of people actually been hired at Providence Journal, working in their in the newspaper, I think sorting the paper or something, kind of.
Initially, just anything to get
anything
money.
to get by.
So for children, what are you doing for children? I mean, that's where, one's heart breaks when one thinks about children who have not ever known a home. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think these mentors / tutors are open to anything. They are open. I think their first reason why they are there is because they want to help refugee. They don't care if it's children or adult. They just want to help. And most of the cases, as Baha said, most of them are families. So I have a list of mentors and I have a list of mentees. So basically, I know who's in need of what, and I know how to pair people. So it's my duty to think after interviewing a person who is willing, because we're not just welcoming every single person just because they're open up to the idea of mentoring. We have to screen them and check their BCI and different kind of thing to make our refugees safe as well. Because
well, if a 10-year-old comes to you and he's having behavioral problems adjusting to the school, you at Dorcas do something to help. That is one of the things that you advertise that you do. Could you talk a little bit about that? How do you?
I can
you must have
respond.
to help the family to understand the problem. Then you have to help the child. Then you have to find the language skills to communicate all of that.
So all the refugees are screened for mental health and post-traumatic stress, and they're connected to the resources that best fits them linguistically and culturally. We have an in-house licensed clinical social worker, Sajita Woodman, who basically conducts these assessments. And we have a really strong partnership with the Hasbro Children's Hospital. So all the children there's a refugee health clinic that happens like on one Friday and then followed by the Monday of the month. That's where all their medical needs are kind of addressed during those 2 days. And they get a lot of follow-up appointments, and if there is a mental health support that needs to be implemented, they have staff. Dr. Nugent actually has been working with the refugee population. Dr. Carol Lewis. So they're huge key players in making sure refugee children have the resources they need to succeed. But also we have good partnership with Providence School Department, so if there are extra resources that need to be brought in, they can help us. Maybe you can talk about the Bright Camp that you worked this summer.
Yeah.
The Bright. Maybe you can talk briefly about that. We have a partnership with Brown University tutoring program, and also Providence Public Schools, and we had a summer camp for 5 weeks, and this was a really successful experience.
Yes, last summer I got the chance to work with a bunch of really amazing kids. The name was Bright Camp. It's a partnership with Brown students, and during the summer they create a school. It's kind of a school-based thing. Basically, in the morning, we have math and English classes, plus fun, of course. And then after, we have lunch, and then after lunch is a list of fun activities like swimming, going to the zoo, to the park, and different things. And it's a month and a half school system. So during that 1 month half, I learned actually a lot, because it's all this bunch of refugee kids who've been they met sometimes, but they don't have that time to meet each other during the school year. And at the Bright Camp, they come, all of them together, and looking at their faces, they are looking forward to come to school every day, even though they don't want to be in school because they had enough. They went to school for the whole year, and then that 1 month and a half in summer, we're giving them math class again. But actually, we're enforcing them because some of them are really challenged during the school year. Maybe they are not good in math, so we just help them with all the questions they have and to just reinforce their ability to learn English, because as Baha said, many of them, English is like their third, fourth language, so it's important to help them learn and read. So I think at that place, children just find themselves a second home, because I was teaching them. I was a teacher, and my class every single day was.
You can imagine
party.
how many cultures are there in that one
Yes.
room. And
yes.
how many children did you have?
In my class, I had 11, and every single kid came from different countries,
different
and they
story.
had different stories, and it's amazing.
I mean, we have about like 40, I just counted, like 47 different countries in the refugee population and 37 different languages.
Oh my heavens.
And that's, we're talking about like maybe a group of less than 100.
So we only have a couple minutes left. So I wonder if you can tell me what you want people to hear, what they can do. I think you take donations. I think you take donations of clothing. But what else can people do besides maybe formal mentoring?
Yeah, I mean, donation, definitely always welcome. Donation of your time, we can accept money to help refugees with basic needs, with program development and all that. But it's really what I want everybody out there to know is that refugees, they bring another perspective to life when they come here. They remind me that what I have here is great, and I need to really be appreciative to what I have because they were deprived of that, and they come here to rebuild their lives again.
And in the process, they're rebuilding communities, aren't they?
Yes.
There are stories. There was a story recently of a community in Italy where about more than a third of the population is people from other countries. And they're finding that that has enriched their lives so much. And I think we don't look that way until we hear poetry or art or music. We realize how different we all are and how wonderful the diversity is.
Yeah, personally, as I said, refugees are just human beings like everybody else. Just because they have a different story doesn't mean they're different. They went through situations that they didn't choose to get into. And when they get here, I think they deserve a chance to be loved, to get attention, and to restart their life.
Have compassion. That
Absolutely.
We all, certainly the fundamental of Judeo-Christian and I assume Muslim belief is that the stranger should be welcomed.
Absolutely.
And so we can't look at this other than one human being to another.
Yep.
Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for coming. I certainly encourage you and am so thankful for the work that you do, and I'm hoping that I can help too. Maybe you will, and maybe good news is right around the corner in your neighborhood, and I hope you're helping to make it, and I'm sure those who resettled in your community are helping to make it too. Thank you for watching.